When the roll is called out, I'll be standing taller. All of my loving's for you. Love how you do what you do.
Today I am in Westchester, New York to meet with Andrea Bullens, the promoter of the Westchester Reggae Festival. Bullens is anticipating an historic return of the veteran artist King Yellowman. Queen Ifrica.
Plus him a thrill me with the more sweet talking. You know
Etana. And Lerroy Sibbles. The pioneer promoter is also an executive on the famous Groovin' in the Park event, but she's always behind the scenes. Well, today she's in front of it to talk about her very own Westchester Reggae Festival. Stay tuned.
You're watching Facepeak from New York and around the world.
So Andrea, before we get started today, tell us a little bit about your history with Bullseye Marketing. That's your company. What do you do at Bullseye Marketing?
Okay. Bullseye is not where I started, but Bullseye is where I am.
Take us back to where it started. That's what I'm trying to grasp you.
At 19 years old, I started a company called Nightline International.
Nightline.
Often confused with Ted Koppel Nightline, so it got us through doors.
Okay.
But it was spelled Nytelyne. I started that with a friend of mine, now deceased, Jacqueline Wright. And we produce fashion shows and fashion with music. That was our theme. And the goal was to promote and publicize designers and anybody in the arts that are of Caribbean heritage, African heritage, because we have a lot of African designers.
And this is in New York?
This is in New York. A few years after I migrated to this place. So we actually met in the Miss Jamaica USA pageant.
So you entered Miss okay.
Well, I didn't enter for beauty.
I disagree.
But I just came to this country and I was bored. And my sister's friend came to the house and told me that I would have to. No, she said that in order for us to make good money, these pageants will pay you money, and you get to get all the way around the city. They take you around, they show you places, and all I heard was getting out, getting into places, and so on. So.
So you were a beauty queen?
No, not at all. I wasn't there for the beauty. I was there because they would take us around and show us for free. And I just come to the country and everybody was bored and I wanted to see New York.
Okay.
So they both said they would come in with me. So I said, oh, we got company. And of course, they left me stranded. Well, actually, it was only her, Sandra. So left me stranded and I was there by myself. So I met Jackie. Jackie became my business partner. She came to me and she said, listen, I didn't win, but I won the most congenial contestant. Which means it says that all the other contestants like me.
Okay.
Or something of the matter, you know, where in terms of, so we started doing fashion shows, models competition, etc., using the same girls from the pageant. So we were having fun. We were approached by George Crooks and his brother Charles at one of our events to produce amateur models segment for an upcoming event that he was having. But this is one of his first. Now we know George Crooks, Mr. Jamin's production. So we, Dynasty International, which I'm sure is no longer on Empire Boulevard, was the venue. And he brought in the comedians and they did the, the promotion, and we worked on creating an amateur models competition.
So you worked with George Crooks years ago?
We did our first event together.
Okay.
It was his first, as far as I know, in New York, because he was in the travel business before. And this was his foray into production.
And around what year is this?
I think this was 1987, 89, somewhere around there, before you were born.
I disagree, but okay. Let's talk about Westchester Festival, because it's highly anticipated. I've seen where this King of the Dancehall is a hot topic. And we've seen where Scargill came to America, did a big show, Beanie Man is coming to do a big show, and then now you book King Yellowman to do a big show. So the three kings, or the three quote-unquote kings, will be in the area. Now I want to know, why did you went with King Yellowman and not a Beanie Man or a Vybz Kartel? Like, why did you pick that king, the King Yellowman? Tell us about why you came up with this idea to go with a King Yellowman?
If you're looking for an artist that's a dancehall artist that crosses over to the mainstream, there are very few. Not a Vibes Cartel. Yes, Vibes Cartel crosses over, but to the younger genre. There's no Beanie Man that can do what Yellowman did, or Yellowman does and continues to do. I'm in a Westchester County area where there's a large percentage of Caucasians or folks in the mainstream that are familiar with reggae. But the biggest challenge I have is putting folks upon the marquee of the county center that has a familiarity, that's not a Marley, that's not Toots, God bless his soul, that crosses, that the mainstream, that can say is a household name.
So you're saying that King Yellowman is a bigger mainstream brand?
Yes, you mentioned Yellowman, and the average Caucasian that maybe went to college here would have come in touch with come across Yellowman, especially those that would be my age or a little younger, because Yellowman is the first dancehall artist to have had the accomplishments and the international appeal that Yellowman had from back in the 80s. Yellowman, when at the time when they were doing Order of Distinctions in Jamaica, when Yellowman got his, I'm sure it was a lot more accredited than it is now, because anybody can get an OD now.
I agree.
Right? But Yellowman was one of the first dancehall artists to be given an OD. He's also first one to be signed by an international American record label, which is Columbia Records. He has a slew of hits that are on the tip of everybody's tongue at the mention of his name. You mention Yellowman and people will blurt out, I'm getting married in the morning, or they'll give the zungo zungo, so Yellowman appealed to a crossover audience. If I'm bringing Yellowman, because I've had Westchester before, and I've had it at the Capitol Theatre, Tarrytown Music Hall, and Westchester County Center. The Capitol tells me they have a mailing list of over 300,000 people. So I said, well, where are you represented in my audience when I have a show? And they said, because we don't know the people you're bringing. I said, but what do you mean you don't know the people? Marcia Griffiths is one of the former I-Trees. They said, yes, if you mention Marley,
So what about...
So they weren't familiar with the artist, and they weren't coming out. So I say, who is it that you guys know? And I threw out some names. You mentioned Yellowman, everybody in the room. Yeah, Yellowman.
So why so much foreign people know King Yellowman? Like why?
Because of the fact that he had international success long before any of these other dancehall artists. So I consider him the original king of the dancehall. Now these guys would be junior to him because he's been around and he's paved the way for a lot of these other guys.
I agree.
And I mean, so much so that there was a soundbite with him after a show saying something which I think would have taken over the internet a couple of years ago, backstage at Irie Jamboree or one of these shows, right? And I asked management, I sent it to management and I said, hey, we're going to use this, it'll bring us some attention. And I didn't get any feedback. Because what I'm saying is that Yellowman has matured. He's proven. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone and get involved in, whether he's better than someone. And maybe back then when the topic was hot and somebody brought it to him and he said, he brushed it off.
So if you were to ask the question, who is the king of dancehall? If somebody walk up to you in the street and say, who do you think is the king of the dancehall? What would you say?
I think it's which dancehall you're talking about.
What era, right?
Meaning which era the dancehall you're talking about. Because it's a different era. And when Yellowman reigned with over 50, number one hits, I got to, check my facts, but slew of number one hits, back to back to back to back.
So you're saying he was a king, but not no.
Cartel wasn't born, or maybe baby. Beanie Man, was a youngster, but he wasn't at, where Yellowman was. Yellowman was the one when you turn on the radio. And then, separate and apart from the fact that he himself had challenges, for him to come out as an artist, as an albino, and with the confidence that he had, and maintain that confidence. When back in the days when I was growing up, the Jamaican community can be very cruel. And they would laugh at the boy, don't do this.
And I agree with you. I think we can have kings. I think that Vybz Kartel has put in the work. I think Beanie Man put in the work. And I think King Yellowman is one of our foundations. So I'm one of those people. We need even more kings.
And they all have their fans.
And them have their fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're gonna pull out
and
a
if
young.
you love music, why are you separated it by title?
Right.
You know, I think there's room for everything. And as the dancehall genre, you know, matures in a different way. Well, matures, but as it changes, because
Right.
I mean, what they were singing back then, I can play for my kids.
Right.
I can't necessarily. I mean, a lot of Beanie Man songs, yes, I can. There's some cartel songs that you know, the girls in my office when they played it, I just say, I want them to be comfortable. But there are times that I'm like, okay, guys.
Do you think this idea of, or the narrative of King of the Dancehall is helping your promotion for your event?
I don't think it has an effect on it because the people that are coming to my event couldn't care less. They're
Okay.
coming to see Yellow Man, and they're
Okay.
coming for the total package. And what I tend to appeal to the more mature audience. I have no, you know, not that I won't do the youngsters, but it's hard to find, you know, not hard to find, but you know, I tend to appeal to the mature audience because there's not too many people that are appealing to them.
Right.
There are a lot of people that would want to attend these shows, but they don't know half the people.
Right.
You know, I want to appeal to the mature audience.
Right.
So I don't, you know.
Well, that brings us to Queen Ifrica. Queen Ifrica.
We worked with Queen in 2013 for Groovin. I think Queen is a phenomenal artist. She's a hell of a stage performer. I mean, you know the Americans know how to bring it out, right? But when you go to a Rebel Salute and that lady show up on stage on a crane, she was in the hub of the crane, and they drove her over to the stage and dropped her down. That's somebody that has given thought into their performance.
Right.
A lot of the reggae artists don't give any thought into their performance. They just run on. Especially your people, them, the dancehall people, them never sing out a song. Halfway through the song, they wheel. Queen brings it. Queen's is, I mean, she's either, and especially more recently, since she seems to have evolved into herself as she matures and her music does well and she tours and, you know, have all this international attention. She's into character. She dresses the part. She's commanding. She commands her stage. And she has some thought-provoking music, which a lot of artists don't want to touch because they want to have everybody be happy with them. They don't want to touch the controversy. Well, she touches the controversy, which a lot of folks can identify with. One of the biggest problem we have in Jamaica, not just Jamaica, in the Caribbean and in the rest of the world, is incest.
Right.
So, Daddy don't touch me there. I'm not saying anybody touched her there, but a lot of people can identify with that. I've always wanted to bring Queen. I've always wanted to have her on because, you know, there's so many women that are at her stage in the business, in her area of the genre. You know, there are a lot of young girls now that are surfacing. But at one point, reggae was such a male-dominated business that it was just difficult for a woman to rise. So she had her struggles, but she you know, stuck to her gun. My tickets, right now we have balcony seats for $50. We have a special going right now where it's about $40, 25% reduced, just to motivate. Right. General admission, our early bird is $60. Right. That will go up to $70. Right. And then we have some VIP tickets, which is from $159 to $199, and those are like the first 6 rows of the venue. Okay. So they're not, you know, exorbitant. Okay, so tickets are available at most of the local ticket outlets. You know, in the Door Restaurant, Golden Crust, you know, there are a few of them. You can run that on your screen. It's a lot of them. However, yes, the name's online. Yes, you can, you know, but Ticketmaster, the venue has a relationship with Ticketmaster. So we have to work with the venue, you know, where the Ticketmaster. However, I will say that there are a lot of bootlegs or there are a lot of other companies that are selling tickets. Right. And when you do click on the Ticketmaster link, please be sure that you are on Ticketmaster, because a lot of times you click on it, but it takes you elsewhere. So be sure to make sure you pay attention to your search bar to ensure that you are, because I've had folks that at a previous event that have bought 10 tickets at $211. Meantime, the tickets were only $79. So when you go online and you see these big $200 ticket, no, the highest price ticket we have is $199, and even with the Ticketmaster fee, it shouldn't be no more than about, I think, $217.